Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Making Social Media Work for Your Local Business. My name is Michelle Letman, and I'm the content and media producer here at Surefire Local. I'm also joined by our webinar ninja, Steve Eastlack, who is ready and excited to help answer your questions. Speaking of those questions, you can communicate with us using the question box in your webinar control panel, which is on the right-hand side of your screen. Why don't you go ahead and see if you can locate that right now and let us know where you're joining us from today. We'll be sending messages and discussion questions to the group throughout the webinar, so make sure you check that out. A little brief backstory of Surefire Local. Our founder and CEO, Chris Morentis, started Surefire Local with the goal of helping local businesses win in the digital space and compete equally. Our mantra is your web presence is more than just a website. In order to be in all the places customers go to find your business online, you must orchestrate your web presence in Symphony, including your website, social media, local directories, reviews, and more. Today, one lucky attendee is going to take home a Google Home. We will be emailing that lucky winner, or we will be announcing that winner at the end, so make sure you stay on and we'll announce that towards the end. But if you don't win one, you don't have to go home empty-handed. Everyone here today is eligible to win a Google Chromecast, but I'll get more to that at the end of the webinar. Today, we have a fantastic group of speakers. Chelsea Welsh, Gutter Helmet's National Marketing Manager, and Angel Jambazov, Lab 6 Media's co-founder. A little story about them. Chelsea is responsible for integrating national marketing and social media campaigns and advising a large network of Gutter Helmet and Sinceta dealers. Angel transformed a decade of journalism skills into a highly successful marketing career, and Angel will talk about social viral videos and advertising. I'm also joined today by Surefire's Chief Marketing Officer, Shashi Balamkanda, or as he often referred to around here as the social media Swami. Shashi has over 15 years of experience in the digital industry, and with all that spare time he has offline, he also teaches digital marketing at our local Georgetown University. With that being said, Shashi, over to you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Thank you, everyone, for taking time off your day to join us on this webinar, which is going to be a conversation with two great experts that I'm very proud to have known for a few years. And we're going to talk about the number one thing that small businesses need to understand if they need to use social media or not. With that, they've actually come up with a few very informative and interesting facts about their experience and how they see things. So with that, over to you, Chelsea.
I'm really excited to have the opportunity, and thank you to the Surefire Local team for having me. I just really wanted to come up with a few tips and a few things that I get feedback on from the field, from all of our Sonesta dealers as well as our Gutter Helmet dealers. And so these are contractor questions that have come in and some tips that really have helped them along their way. So the first tip that I wanted to bring to the forefront is the YouTube Directors app. It's not been out that long, but it's also a tool that maybe you don't know that you should get to know. So YouTube Directors app allows local businesses, so local contractors, local businesses, to be able to take really nice video content. You can edit it, you can do your voiceover and everything within 20 minutes easily through the YouTube Directors app. Visual content keeps the consumer extremely engaged, and so we're finding that more people out there, and you can definitely chime in your chat box, but more people out there are engaging video versus the text that we're seeing. So really integrating video is becoming extremely important. It's taking a very personal and intimate view of you as the actual owner of the business and being able to share your story through social media and through utilizing the YouTube Directors app. So really take a few minutes if you get a chance. View the YouTube Directors app. It's a great opportunity to take an easy way of engaging a video, and I know many of you can express your concerns out there in regards to video content and how to grab that video content. It's tough. This allows you to be able to have that professional video that you can definitely promote on your YouTube channel, all throughout your social channels, and it's a great, great tool. The second tip that I have today is educational content. There's the consumer today is extremely smart. They're researching, they're doing more research than ever before they even think about making that purchase or even reaching out to the contractor or to the place of service that they want to purchase or look for services within. So make sure that you're providing the content, educational content that can actually help to be able to help that consumer take that decision to the next level. They want to make sure that they not only understand, but they want to do that comparison shopping. They want to make sure that, you know, they know what in this example, what the most cost savings would be or energy efficient products may be. But in every aspect, whether you're selling awnings or windows or gutter protection, depending on your particular product type, make sure that you're educating the consumer. A lot of times when we're looking at content, we're looking at it as we know, we see it day to day. We're definitely professionals of our craft. But when the consumer sees that, we can't assume they understand the day-to-day technical specifications of our product. And maybe we need to definitely find a way that we can educate them and be able to provide that content. It's searchable content. It's something that a lot of times is shared because it's giving them knowledge to help them make the best decision.
That's true. And Chelsea, I wanted to give a shout out to your marketing team because you also do take the content on your blog, which is educational to most people who want to think about gutters, and then post it on social media. It reaches a much wider audience. So kudos on that approach too.
Absolutely. And, you know, we definitely are thankful for our partnership with Surefire Local and all that you do in regards to helping us with that blogging and finding the perfect article to really educate and kind of take our consumer to the next level, because we want to be sure that we're not speaking, you know, too deep into the technical specs, but we also want to make sure that, you know, we're speaking at a level that they can understand and that, you know, we're coming from a consumer voice, so we're really speaking to that an easier way of education. But there's lots of ways that you can educate. But that's a great point, Sashi. Thank you.
Thanks, Chelsea.
And reviews. Everything's about reviews. Everybody's talking about reviews, the importance of reviews. Share your reviews on social media. The voice of the customer is so critical in today's sales funnel. We're casting that wider net through social media. They may not quite be ready, but as you're educating them, as you're giving them great video and engaging content, as they're seeing reviews about your company, all of those things are going to help them make really strong decisions on who they want to do business with. I know I personally won't even go to a restaurant unless I read the reviews because I don't want to have that negative experience. I want to be sure that when I'm looking at a product or service that I'm looking at those reviews to see what the ratings are, to see how a consumer engaged that particular company. So consumers are doing this day to day. I know many of you on the call, if you were to think back on the last time you made a purchase, I'm sure you reviewed many of the feedback that was online and went through those reviews and made sure that if you're going to spend that particular amount of money, you're going to spend it with the right company. So make sure that you're paying attention. If you don't have a strategy around cultivating reviews, because it's the actual voice of that customer speaking on behalf of their experience, make sure that you put this as a part of a top priority in your strategy moving forward. The next tip was engaging questions. A lot of times we tend to tell the customer a ton of information and we're pushing it out there as fast as we can, and we're not really waiting for that feedback. The consumer wants to give you their feedback and they want to feel a part of the process. So provide those engaging questions. Make sure that you're responding to questions they may have, and reach out to them. You'd be really surprised how far and how long that goes with a customer. They want to know that you're a real person. And a lot of times when you're asking their opinion or asking them a question on your social media platform, they want to engage you. Make sure that you're engaging right. So if you launch your social media, don't just leave it stagnant. Make sure that you're spending time cultivating the relationships with your fan base. cultivating and making sure that you're providing the right content. And those engaging questions definitely help them to be able to not only speak to you and know that you're a real person, but really kind of lower some of the guards they may have had about your company.
And if I could jump in real quick, one mistake that we see all the time, this is Angel, is that while people may respond to comments in one channel, like say comments in Yelp or comments in Facebook, they forget that people can provide comments in Instagram or Twitter or any social platform you're on. So they would have pushed out content in a wide variety of different platforms and only responded to a select few. Mm-hmm. And you have to remember that anywhere that your content is, you want to be able to maintain that channel as much as possible. And so if somebody wants to engage you on that channel, you have to take the time to go to that channel and talk to them, because otherwise that's a missed opportunity. And we see that constantly where people may have good responses, again, on Yelp or maybe on Facebook, but would have pushed out content on Instagram or Twitter or Pinterest or wherever, and then not responded to conversations in those channels.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Angel. It's so important to definitely monitor those channels. Make sure that you're engaging. Make sure that the consumer's hearing from you. Because there's nothing more frustrating than when a consumer is trying to engage you and you don't respond. And to that, it's a great segue to the next tip is respond to all reviews. It's really important if you're getting that negative comment, respond immediately, but try to drive that conversation offline. To Angel's point, you know, wherever that content lives, if you continue to add more content and, you know, oftentimes we feel we're right in the situation and we're going to tell our whole story online, you really need to drive them offline, because that's searchable content that may not, you know, when you're you know, passionate about what you do and you feel a little attacked maybe from a negative review, you tend to just pour your heart out, right? A lot of times we need to take a deep breath, really think about what we're going to post, drive it offline. And then when you're speaking to them on the phone and you're dealing with that, you know, particular customer and you're giving them a solution, at least it's not documented as searchable content. So definitely respond to those negative comments immediately, but drive the conversation offline. And then positive conversations. If you're having a positive conversation and a positive comment or a review, thank them for that. It goes a really long way. And they'll see that you're actually monitoring your channels, and that that their opinion or their feedback meant something to you. And I think that goes a really long way with the consumer.
I agree with you, and I want to give an example of something I faced as a consumer way before social media was a thing, like my eye doctor. I don't know if you folks remember, there used to be a review site called Insider Pages. I don't even know if it exists. So I gave a review to my eye doctor on Insider Pages, I think probably 2010 years ago. And my doctor actually called me, and he had looked at the name of the reviewer and looked at his records and called me and thanked me. And I'm telling you, I'm still using his business. So to your point, Chelsea, like, people really love it when they are acknowledged. Thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's not just acknowledging them as well. You have to remember that social essentially is that, right? So just imagine for a second that you're not talking to somebody on Facebook, that you're not talking to them on whatever platform it is, but you're in a large room with a bunch of people and somebody approaches you and either asks a question about your business, gives feedback about your business, or wants to engage you about your business, and instead of you talking to them, you turn away, right? You wouldn't do that to a customer in real life. You shouldn't do that to a customer in social media. And people forget that that social media conversation is actually a conversation, and the companies who do social media very well treat it as a conversation and not a broadcast channel. What it's not is TV, what it's not is radio or newspaper. It's a conversation back and forth with your customers. The more that you can create that kind of conversation component to it, the more loyalty you will build up with those people And even if you can't, quote unquote, win out with every customer, 'cause sometimes somebody will give negative feedback, people will see how you handle yourself, and the way you handle yourself, they'll remember that in a positive light, regardless of what the little interaction was. So, again, treat it like that, and it's going to work much better for you than as a broadcast channel. That's, again, one of the mistakes we see the most often is people broadcasting rather than engaging in a conversation.
Great point. Just like we would talk to customers in real life, I think we should treat it the same way. I think, Chelsea, you made some really excellent points that people can pay attention to. I really love the YouTube video one, and like you said, I hope people in the audience, if you have any questions, please post it in the chat box. We have these two experts who are absolutely ready to answer that. And it's a perfect segue. Thank you, Chelsea. Over to Angel. And Chelsea, feel free to weigh in wherever we can keep this conversation going. And Angel, you have some pretty interesting slides. Why don't we start?
Yeah, so just go ahead. And so to me, back to the conversation component of it. So a lot of my background, my clients are large national clients that are e-commerce clients. So like Spanx, which is the women's underwear client, Dark Horse Comics, Keen's Footwear, big national clients. But the way that they work with their consumers and make their consumers passionate about their brand and passionate about their following is very applicable on the small local scale as well. And the number one way they do it, because people will know, like, and if I, even not just using my clients, even if I use like Nike or Under Armour or Red Bull or any of these people, those brands and those names, they become household names because they've told a story about their brand. And that storytelling component is what makes them stand out as opposed to their competition, and it's what makes their fans passionate about their product. It's the same way to me on any scale, small or large. The more story you tell about who you are, what your business is, why you're in this business, the less you're just competing on price. And no one wants to just compete on just price, because then there creates no customer loyalty for you, right? And so to me, that's a big component of it, is just using the social media to tell a story. So go ahead and go on the next one, Sashi. So one example that I use, and the reason I have this up here is a little background, is my wife is an organic farmer. So in organic farming, there's a lot of things we have to kind of tell and educate people. One of our kind of favorite examples is that people always come up to us and tell us that they hate beets because they've tried beets out of a can. And I'm sure everybody here on the phone, one point or another, their parents or some point in when you were in college and were broke, tried beets out of a can and it tasted horrible, right? They're gelatinous. They're they don't taste like anything real except maybe like the metal of the can itself. Whereas getting people to try organic beets, first of all, most people don't even realize that they come in different colors. They come in different patterns in the colors, and they taste so much different. So getting them to try it out in the field, giving them recipes about things, gets people to try something new. And the way we start that whole story and tell that story in an organic farming space is by throwing up photos. Similarly, for anything else, when you have somebody to try something new, right? They may have had a previous bad experience with it. It's providing both an example that in a way that kind of catches their attention because it looks like something they've never seen before, then leading them into, attempting to try it in a way that maybe never have tried before. And so I can't tell you how many people we've gotten to not only eat their beets, but also eat their beet greens, who swore up and down they would never ever try beets again because, again, they were traumatized as kids.
I think I'm going to try beets immediately when I get home.
Well, you should, as long as it's from an organic farm, you should. Or a local farm.
No, That's a great story, yes.
And this example, so the purple-haired farmer here is my wife. And when she shows up, she does educational programs at different schools and stuff. She'll always show up, and the teacher, before she walks into the room, will ask the students to try to guess what a farmer looks like, right? And they'll almost always first guess that it's a man, not a woman. And second, almost no one will ever guess that, you know, the farmer would have purple hair and would look a certain way that she does. People have these preconceived notions of what it is. People also have preconceived notions about, you know, anything else, right? Whether it's a service provider coming to their home, whether it's, you know, what a carpenter might do, what a cleaner might do, and so on. They'll have preconceived notions. And the one reason that she's always kind of kept her purple hair is it helps her both stand out and helps kind of tell a story that's a surprise to people. People get engaged, and then people want to come find out more about the farm, find out more about the food she's growing. Similarly, if people just feel like, you know, hey, you know, a repair person is just going to come and do repair, and they're not really, you know, they're here just to take some cash from me, and maybe, you know, they don't really take pride in their work. You know, they'll have these misconceptions, right? Or they'll maybe go to a mechanic and go, man, you know, mechanics are always ripping me off. Like, you know, all mechanics are a certain way. And then when you find that one, like, amazing mechanic who's not only passionate about the car, but informational to you about what's happening, will want to, you know, gives you that sense of trust and builds up that relationship and rapport, that's a huge thing. And part of that is kind of developing, you know, a brand and a story around, right? So that's why the purple hair is a purple-haired farmer.
Hey, Angel, that is a great story, and please say hello to Jean when you get home. But, oh, you're already home in the farm, maybe. But I forgot to tell the audience about my story. Like, I hope everybody noticed that I have a fantastic Southern accent. And if you can't understand Angel, I am willing to translate for you all.
And with the farmer component, I mean, it's just telling the story all the way through, and this is why this slide is up, is that this is one of our volunteers holding up the beets, and just kind of, you know, keep your friends close and your farmers closer, just keeping consistency on the messages. Once you have a storyline built up, you've told people about the beets, you've told people about, you know, farmers don't look just a certain way, and then you've told people that you're passionate about something, keeping that story going consistently throughout your timeline and social media. Because what I see all the time is sometimes people will talk about something that they're passionate about in their business, and then they'll throw in something that will kind of derail that whole conversation in ways that are not business focused and are also just not positive to the audience, right? And so to me, that consistency of message through all your social media is really important. So if you're going to talk about beets, have beets in the photos. If you're going to talk about female farmers farming organic, have female farmers in the photos and not just the one farmer. If you're going to talk about organic in general, keep that messaging all the way through your messaging. It's the same with any vertical. So that's it for the storytelling component. And then I also wanted to tell this as an example of something else that you could do within Facebook specifically, but Twitter has a version of this. Pinterest has starting the version of this. Almost all of the different social platforms are starting to step into this space. And this is also kind of a preview of what's happening next week with Surefire, as they're talking about Facebook advertising in general. But this is kind of appropriate to the local component. So both in farming and almost anything else you do that's local, hyper-local, there's only, you know, so many people in your area that are going to be interested in what you have to offer. And I use this example just because it's an easy example as from a car sales standpoint, but you could approach this to anything. And so, first of all, Facebook targeting. Almost everybody's like, I posted something on Facebook and I boosted it and it didn't work, or I didn't get very many calls, or I only got a couple comments, or so on and so forth. And it's usually because the people have not leveraged Facebook's targeting. Facebook has got extensive, crazy amounts of targeting and segmenting that you can do to your audience, especially if you know your audience well. So in this example here, if imagine you're a car dealership, you can target people who are specifically interested and are in market for a body style of economy or compact cars. At least 5,851,000. Facebook tells you exactly 5,851,000 people are interested in that specific market, and then you can then lower it down to a radius. Now you've got the market size. I want it in a radius of a 1 mile or a couple mile radius of where my dealership is, or where that car that I'm trying to sell is, or wherever that product is, or that showroom I'm trying to get them to is, or in our case, where that farm is. And then once you've got the audience and the distance that you think people are willing to travel for this, then make sure that the image that you use on Facebook is an image that's appropriate to that audience. Because what I see all the time is people like, I've got good targeting, but the image is not what they're talking about, right? So if you're going to have a compact car, at least have it with a background that looks like California, in this case, if you're targeting in San Francisco, right? Don't have San Francisco's targeting and then show, Iowa cornfield or Arizona desert. It doesn't make sense, right? So make sure that all those steps, not only is the product that you're showing, but everything else ties into that targeting component. I just don't think people think about that enough, especially on the visual and especially within the content of the ad itself or the post itself that you're boosting.
Great, Angel. No, thank you very much. I think we have some questions, but just to the audience, if you have more questions, please send them in. We'll address them as we go. We're going to have a small break in a moment. I want to ask both of you, Chelsea and Angel, and you first, Chelsea, is like, this is a slide from Google where they have said that the customer journey today goes through several channels. So you can't just be using one channel and expect it to produce results, because our behavior as customers has changed. We look at something that Angel has posted, like I said, he talked about beets. Now I'm thinking of beets when I go to my local store or an organic farmer's market, I'm going to buy beets. But I heard it first on this webinar, right? Now the next thing is I might search on Google. I might look at an ad. I don't know if organic farmers put ads, but it's more word of mouth than word of mouth. So what do you think about the role that social plays in this general mix of channels? Chelsea, why don't you go first?
I think it's really delicate, and when we're looking at it, it's like I mentioned before, you're casting a wider net. They may not be in the sales funnel, but social media gives them, through all the tips that we talked about, the education to drive them and kind of slowly bring them from that wide net casting down to a smaller, more focused funnel. Because at this point, they're just learning about many of our products when we're speaking, on the side of contractors. They may not know that there's health risks if they leave their gutters full, but it's our responsibility to educate them at that level to even earn the right to be able to engage them to ask for the sale in the future. So I think social plays a very critical part. It's a place where they share many of their great memories with their family members. It's a place like in the channel of Pinterest where they're posting their dreams of things they would like to do or future trips they're taking. So it's a very safe place. It's a place that definitely needs to be nurtured and cared in a different way. But I think that social does play a very vital part in that as we're driving them down that funnel to influence that purchase decision.
Great, thank you. Angel, your comments?
Well, I mean, I think social also, in terms of that influence, gives you options. Let's say I've never walked into your store or to your showroom or onto your farm. I don't know anything about you yet, right? but I know that maybe I'm in the market for something that's in your showroom, or, maybe I'm in the market for, finding a good organic product, or maybe I'm in the market for trying a new restaurant, right? And I've done the first step where I've looked up maybe reviews on Yelp, or I've done a Google search, right? Before I make a decision, unless that decision is solely need-based, or unless that decision is solely price-based, because it's an emergency and I just need to get something done, my next step is almost always going to be to get some background on what the product is or the business is, because I just need some more information, and so I will almost always click on the business's Facebook page and the business's Twitter page at the least, right, and just look at their photos. And by the way, on Yelp as well, look on the photos on Yelp, and I'll see that, like, for example, for exercise places and gyms all the time, where they'll have some photos that they posted on Facebook, and those photos look great, but they don't have any photos on Yelp or Google, and that's a wasted opportunity, because once I went to Facebook, I may not have, maybe I only stopped at Yelp, right? So people use social media to find out more about the business, to decide, is this a business I want to give my money to? Do these look like good people? The same way that, if you go into a store and no salesperson comes up to you and talks to you, they don't engage you and stuff, they probably lost the sale because they didn't engage you as a person, right? The same thing with social media. You probably lost a client because you didn't engage them.
That's true. No, great point. Here's one thing that I always keep thinking. A lot of businesses ask us this question, like, I really don't get social media. I don't know how it converts. But the basic point is that as human beings, the most important thing, and I think that's the point both of you are making, is have a very good DNA of communication with your clients and prospects. And that doesn't need anything except your storytelling. The tools may have changed. I think 15 years ago, I'm sure there probably, if webinars existed, there would have been a webinar on how to use email 15 or 16 years ago. Now we are having webinars on how to use Snapchat. So how would you address the question that which channel to use, and to say, like, communication is far more important than the channel that you want to use? Any comments on that?
I think it's important to establish, what your goals are. But to your point, Sashi, that communication aspect is so critically important. If you are going to engage a channel, be sure that you're engaging the channel, that you're present, that you're having those communications, those conversations back and forth. I think the ones that I would suggest for our industry and home improvement would be Facebook, YouTube, and House. I'm finding that those are the top three for us, that we're starting to see a higher level of ROI. We're starting to see where they're actually engaging us on Facebook and asking for an appointment. We never thought in a million years on the manufacturing side. We're actually seeing on the wholesale retail side where they're actually reaching out and asking about wholesale retail products from our social media channels, which, again, we never thought we would see. So I think that it depends on your plan, creating that plan to be sure that you're engaging those channels. And as we all know, there's so many channels out there. There's no way we can do every single one of them. But developing a plan within the channels that we're committed to make sure to move forward in our businesses, I think, is the best plan.
Great.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that, which is, sorry, I absolutely agree with that, which is that, you don't have to do all the channels. Pick the channels that are most important to your business and the ones that you can maintain and that you can be good at, and be good at those channels. Don't try to chase all the newest channels all the time, because what will happen is that you'll have a presence somewhere and someone will try to talk to you there, and they'll think that you're supposed to be engaged there, and you would have forgotten about that channel and wouldn't get back to them in time. So try to be good at only, the channels that you can produce content for on a regular basis, that you're committed to, and be good at just those channels.
Great point, and a perfect segue to my next slide, which is And this is, by the way, how Google looked in 1997, 98. And I always, and I want to make sure that I'm giving the right advice. And one of the things that people can do now, because they already have established a business, is just about looking at a Google search of their own business and product name to be able to see how they can own part of their own Google search. And I'd be very curious with the audience, like how often do they search for their business name on Google? I hope you will put that into the chat box. So the question here is more about, would you agree that social is a way to dominate your search results if people are going to Google your business name? If there is Facebook that's appearing there, or the Google My Business page that's appearing there, you'd probably make that your priority. What do you both think?
I think social media definitely helps you dominate the page, especially because you're integrating more video, and video is ranking a little higher on the SERP. And so when you're looking at your opportunities, you're going to have multiple competitors that are going to be feeding in there. But if you can really, to Angel's point, take your channels that you're doing well and really integrate and really commit to those channels, you would really begin to see that in that SERP page ranking because of the video, because of the importance of the voice of the customer through Facebook reviews and Facebook interactions and YouTube. So I think it definitely helps to dominate the search page results.
That's it. So,
Angel, I think new content always helps, right? So video helps, but new content in general, right? Content that you produce, whether it's on social media or on a blog or on a podcast or whatever it is, new content always helps in these rankings. One trick that we see all the time that people are doing social media well that I recommend is don't just search this main page, but search under your company's name under images. Mm-hmm. And the reason I say that is because one example one of my favorite examples is we had one client that was a large shoe client, and one of the things they did a lot was do soccer cleats. And while they had plenty of listings under soccer on Google itself, when you went to image search, they hadn't tagged for some reason any of their images for their own shoes with the word cleats. So if you just throw up soccer, you get soccer balls, you get soccer teams, you get all these things, but you weren't getting their shoes because they hadn't tagged the word cleats onto their shoes in terms of their image tags. And that's really important. So make sure Google your name under images and then see things like, hey, is my logo up there? Or if I've taken some great photos of maybe a new construction I did, are those tagged properly so it comes up underneath my name in an image search? Or things maybe I don't want there, And so don't just look on the main page, but also look on images as well, because people grab those and use those elsewhere. It's again another trick that people always miss out on.
Great point. Just to recap what you both said is, number one, I think Chelsea said, pay attention to reviews, have your customers write reviews. Angel, you said you don't have to do everything in every place, but if you're choosing 2 to 3 social networks, make sure you're there and you're very active. And the number one reason, the number one benefit of doing all this is you will be able to dominate your search results, which people are going to look at anyway. That's, I think, just for people to take notes on that. Because people always ask this question of where do we start, what do we benefit from? And I think you both have given us exactly the answer to that question. Now, I'm looking at, I am part of my local Nextdoor network, which is, again, it's not so new, but it's come into the news very recently. We also had a blog post on businesses claiming their Nextdoor. But I just wanted to reiterate the point. The number one thing you're communicating to your customers and telling your story and making them satisfied is how you're going to get more business. Here's an example of a conversation that's taking place within the next door network where somebody wants a referral for a kitchen renovation. So the word of mouth that everybody, big or small, depends on is now become word of mouth, and conversations about you and your business are already taking place. Any quick tips on how people can increase the ability to get more reviews, and how do they tell happy customers to review them? Any tips from both of you?
Actually, what we've seen, we definitely want to engage them, right after the purchase, and we ask for those reviews through our warranty registration process. So if you have a process in order already, that where you're gathering additional information or a warranty registration or anything like that, that you're gathering data, don't be afraid to ask for that review. You want to know their true opinion about you and your company. You want to be able to showcase and find, if there's positive fans, raving fans, or if there's some negative things that you really need to take back and do some retraining. I think as professionals, especially in our industry, it's critical to ask for those referrals or reviews. And then, again, ask for those true referrals, especially from the raving fan reviews that you may get in. Because you'd be really, really surprised how many people won't even reach out. And we have fans that reach out to us all the time and tell us how amazing our products are. But if we don't reach back out to them and ask for the neighbor or for someone out there that they might could refer us, then we would never get those leads. And we see tons of referral leads all the time.
Oh, great point. That's true. Angel?
Well, I think that's all accurate. I mean, I don't have too much to add there, except for the one aspect that you should be aware of is in terms of just research and so on. 1-stars and 5-star reviews are probably your least important. Your most important reviews are the ones that fall in the middle there. The 4s and the 2s are the ones that people tend to read the most, especially like if they see a lot of 5-star reviews, they'll go try to find a 4-star to see if some of the reviews are fake, or because especially like on Amazon, you go to Amazon all the time, you'll see people posting incorrect or inaccurate or paid reviews. So we find that 4-star reviews carry more weight often, and especially reviews that are not, tend to sound honest and give an honest feedback back. What you don't want to do is get a bunch of reviews up there that are either your friends or your co-workers or so on that sound like they're incentivized. People are getting smarter about that, mostly again because of experiences people have had on Amazon and other places.
Oh, great point. And also, they have to manage their reputation absolutely, because if you make a customer very angry, now they have the ability to actually post saying like, hey, don't use the business. So that's something to be aware of too. This is a story that just happened to me over the weekend, and this is just an example of how word of mouth has gone word of mouth. One of my kitchen faucets was leaking, so naturally I asked my friend which plumber they use, and they just said go and call. I think they literally said Chuck the plumber, and they didn't have the phone number handy. So I searched on Google, and the first result was Yelp, and I didn't even think further because I have the phone number now, plus I have, to your point, Angel, a 4-star review. So I said, hey, this is great, and that's how they got their business. Looking at Instagram, I think, Angel, you make a great point on images, tagging the images, the geolocation that goes with that, I think is pretty key. But I just thought this was a good example of a roofer just telling people this is exactly how they do. I mean, you can see if they have a uniform, that'd be a good thing, but it's a good representation of what people can expect as part of the customer experience. I also think showing the behind the scenes storytelling, this is their lunchtime and this is what they're doing for lunch, I thought was a good way for people to do this. And also, quickly, just looking at how social media is changing, what have you both seen in terms of, like I think you did say, like, don't go after the newest shiny object and have a good goal ready. Is Facebook and Instagram and customer service chatbots anything that our customers, our audience should pay attention to right now, or is that far away?
I think in our space, Ajay, we're starting to see where we're able to capture more of the customers that maybe potentially would be bouncing out of our site. So we're seeing where a type of customer service chat box is being adopted to be able to really answer those questions, because maybe they couldn't find it quick enough, or they really just were looking for more information and more engaging information on a website side. But as far as social media changing, it's ever changing, as you all know. We're seeing things that we never thought we could see. And just the rapid adoption of the older demographic is what's really exciting for us, being that that is our perfect demo for the gutter protection product. So I think overall it's definitely changing. You're seeing more video more than ever before, but overall I think it's definitely changing, and it's changing to a positive way for us to be able to engage the consumer at their level.
Yeah, I think we've probably stopped reading and just looking more at images, like Angel said.
Well, I think that's the issue, is that people have stopped reading. There's just, it's this fire hose of information, right? And what we found specifically is that people consume a lot more on their mobile phone than previously.
Mm-hmm.
So just think about size, right? You know, if you've got a lot of text on a certain thing, it's hard to consume that on a mobile phone. If you have a really, really long video, people are not going to want to watch it on a mobile phone. And we found for sure that people are more likely to watch or consume information if one of their friends shared it than if a company shares it, right? So if you can convince your followers, the people who are engaged with you already, to share the messaging that you've provided them because you're being helpful to them, because you're providing something of interest to them, something they find interesting, if they share that, their friends and your potential new customers are more likely to consume that information than if they came across it from you because someone that they knew shared it. So that sharing is more valuable than just constantly throwing out information, because people have to choose from that fire hose of what they actually want to consume.
Great. I think it's a perfect place for everybody to do what Chelsea suggested they do, is to download the YouTube Director app on their phones and do exactly this that Angel just answered. We just talked about making posts more creative. One of the suggestions that we have seen is like when contractors finish a job at a residence, what if they take a phone and tell the homeowner, hey, now that we have finished this, would you like a picture of you standing next to this beautifully remodeled kitchen, or this nice work that we have done for your gutter outside your house, and then send it back to them in an email, and also post it with the homeowner's permission on their website. I think two things happen, right? Like the geographical information goes to your website without, so Google knows that you did a job in this place. So tagging people, tagging businesses, any other ways that you can quickly talk about to make posts more interesting? The keywords part of it, I think, Angel, you did mention that don't just say logo. Talk about your company. Put your company's name and tag it with what the product is so that it appears in Google search. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. And be relevant.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Great. I think, Michelle, it's time for a quick check-in, and maybe we can answer one or two questions and then go through the rest of the presentation.
Yep, that sounds good. We're going to do a quick poll today. As mentioned earlier, we're offering a complimentary phone consultation for remodeling your website for all attendees today, and a free Google Chromecast for all who qualify. During a consult, we will sit down with you and review your website. The marketing consult is essentially a one-on-one session with a marketer that's focused on your needs and enables you to take full advantage of the insights that Shashi, Chelsea, and Angel are sharing today. It will help put you on track to create a robust presence for your business and start generating a predictable flow of new customers. When you attend your consultation, someone from the Surefire team will help you identify missed opportunities from across your online presence, from social media to directories to reviews and your website. So please take a minute to answer the poll. And while we're doing that, or you're doing that, we will answer a question that came in from Mark. He was wondering if anyone has heard of Pulse M. They use it to help with reviews.
Chelsea, have you heard of Pulse M?
No, I haven't. I haven't at all.
No,
I don't have any feedback for you guys on that. I apologize.
No, I actually ran into this company at a trade show, but I don't have as much information. But Mark, we will try to get you some more information, and thank you for asking that question. Is there another question, Michelle?
Yes, we can do another one from James. How do I broaden my reach to more people on Facebook than just our current customers and friends of our small staff?
Angel, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Just remember that Facebook, regardless of how many followers you have, only displays any post that you give to 11% of your followers, right? So take all your followers that you have and figure that only 11% of them are essentially seeing any post that you do. Unless one of two things happen. Either people share it and that post becomes more popular in Facebook's algorithm, or that you boost it. So if it's a critical piece of information, if it's something that you want, that you are proud of, that you're excited of, if it's a sale, if it's something that you want to bring in new customers, make sure that you are A, boosting it, and B, make sure that you're segmenting that boost so that way you know that you're reaching the right people and getting some data back with that reach. Like, don't try to cast the widest net possible, try to cast a very strategic net to bring people in. And again, sharing is, to me, the most important in terms of expanding that. So the more shareable, don't just make your post shareable, but try to make your ads as shareable as possible as well.
I think it's a great point. And I just wanted to mention, at Surefire Social, we have experts who actually help businesses with Facebook advertising, and they follow exactly the same thing, targeting the region. So that was a good one. Yeah, feel free to ask us about Facebook, and even Google has the ability for you to target location. So that's a good one. If you haven't had a chance to use the poll, please do so. If you missed that, or if you stepped away for a moment, you can always send an email to marketing@surefirelocal.com and we'll get it. And we are a few minutes away from announcing the Google Home winners. So the winners must stay till the announcement at least. I love my Google. Yeah.
Sorry, real quickly, because you said, in terms of just local targeting, just so everybody knows, Twitter, Pinterest, almost all of your platforms now currently provide some semblance of local targeting. So whichever platform you're using, YouTube, whatever, make sure to attempt to leverage that platform's capabilities in terms of targeting as much as possible, because it's not just Facebook these days that can do excellent local targeting.
Great point. It's also in the interest of all these companies that you benefit, like you succeed. They know that if they take your money and you don't get an ROI for it, they're not going to be successful. So every site that you mentioned, Angel, it's in their interest to make sure that you get the leads that you need through this advertising. So that's a great point. What are your suggestions for engaging with the local community? Do you think our audience should actually start with their customers first? No, I was just saying, I'm using an example of, again, back to my eye doctor who actually wrote a book, and he started off by a sign in his place that said, hey, we are on Facebook. Then he moved on to saying, hey, we are on Yelp. So I saw him steadily start building this audience in all these places of his existing customers. And I have a graph that he showed me where the retention of his existing customers really went up ever since he started engaging in social media. So I think one of the biggest takeaways for engaging in the local community is send an email to your customers, tell them that, hey, the quickest way for you to get some information, like Chelsea, you mentioned your blog posts about educational content. When do you need to look at your gutters? When do you think is the right time to install an awning? Your customers sometimes want that information if they want to change or if they want to recommend it to somebody, and they're going to share it, like Angel said. Do you agree with these points?
I definitely agree, and I think that there is so much power in those raving fans, and oftentimes, to Angel's point, when they're sharing, it reminds them. A lot of us have local community friends, local community businesses that we work with. Those businesses, we have that correlation, and we're all wanting to be able to take a customer and take care of them and be a solution.
Excellent. I think we talked a lot about Facebook, and Angel, you actually mentioned this very fact that you said 11%. I think you are a little bit more generous than this fact here. But the point now is that if you are on Facebook for your business, you definitely need to advertise, and organic reach is no longer possible. Would you agree with that statement, Angel? I mean, you feel free to disagree if you'd like to.
No. I mean, I agree with it. I mean, I think that, we can argue about 2% versus 11%, but either way, it's small, right? But if you think about this, Facebook, every like, every hover over a post, every time someone stops scrolling on their mobile phone to read a post, the Facebook, data, the Facebook AI stops and goes, hey, that person is interested, right? So you want to get them as interested as possible, and sometimes you're going to have to pay for it, right? But make sure the ones that you're paying for are the ones that are critical to you, and make sure everything else is interesting. So pay for the critical ones, make sure everything else is interesting or helpful.
That's great. And Chelsea, I want to reiterate a point that you made. Here's where replies are very interesting. As you keep replying to your Facebook posts from your community, the Facebook's AI is going to say, like, there's a lot of activity here. And I don't know if this tip is good or bad, but instead of replying to that particular post, I would reply as a comment. What I mean by that is you post some very interesting post on Facebook, and somebody else comes and says that, hey, this is really great, I enjoyed my gutter being installed. The next thing you can do is you can actually reply as a new comment and keep that engagement going. So we talked a lot about Facebook advertising because I think all three of us agreed, like, this is the giant beast that is occupying, like, just today I was looking at eMarketer. 50% of the population of the US is on Facebook, and they log in at least once a month. In our daily lives, you find, like, if you're not looking at Facebook, people say, like, hey, there was this whole conversation on Facebook. Angel, you and I organized this, your appearance on this webinar totally on Facebook, right? So I think the takeaway there was Facebook is really important. No matter which niche your business is in, create a business page, claim it, post photographs, engage in it, and start advertising. And before we announce the Google Home winner, yeah, go ahead, Angel.
I was going to say one final thought to there as well is that, we talked a lot about YouTube. Facebook and Google are competitors, right? If video is important to you and you're a contractor, and if video is important to you and you've done a video of a build, right? Don't just post it on YouTube and then try to share that YouTube to Facebook, because Facebook will lower the amount of times that video is viewed because Facebook and Google are competitive, right? So already the Facebook AI has already weighted that view against that YouTube video. Why? Because Facebook wants you to do Facebook Live or upload a direct video to Facebook. They would prefer that. So you'll find the folks that are very heavy into video will actually do the YouTube channel specifically for their YouTube followers and for Google search results, which is super important to everybody, and then upload a separate video either to Facebook Live or to Facebook video itself, specifically for the Facebook audience, because Facebook and Google are that kind of competitive war. So that's one factor you should definitely consider if video is key to your business.
Great point, absolutely. And I think why don't we continue with rounding off with some of our final. I think, Chelsea, you made a great point. Have a plan. Without a plan, no strategy is going to work. So have a plan. I think that's really important. Find out what resources you're going to put. I'd like you both to give 3 things that our audience can take away from our discussion today.
I think a lot of those points out of the 3, I mean, they're sitting on the front of this page. Having a plan is critical. Make sure that you are leveraging your reviews and your raving fans, and take some time to really develop the right strategy, because a plan is a plan, but when you can take it and look at it as a part of the entire strategy for marketing, it'll go a lot farther.
That's great. Angel, what are your thoughts?
Well, just to piggyback on strategy, my very first thought is both Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, what have you, all of them, along with giving you the ability to advertise, gives you also the ability to let you know how many people are seeing your posts, gives you analytics back. Go find out where that analytics is and look at it. And it gives you trends over time, and that trends over time lets you know if your strategy is working or if it's not. And that helps you build out your strategy longer, so definitely do that. Again, be interesting or be helpful with all of your posts. Photos to that are very important, but also make sure that as part of that interesting and helpful is that engagement and conversation with your audience. You want to be able to talk to them. You want to be able to engage them and not just broadcast. So part of that being interesting and helpful is also being human in those conversations. And then again, and I started off this with my first point, which was that you need to be able to storytell. Tell a story about why you're doing what you're doing. If you're a contractor, why are you in the building business in the first place? Not just because you're good at hammering a nail into a wall. I mean, why are you interested in doing, and why are you passionate about what you do will make people want to be able to engage with you. So that complete story and that complete strategy to me is most key. And then one final point, which is, again, don't try everything. Be good at a couple things and build those out.
Oh, it's a great point. And Angel, I haven't, Chelsea has seen a preview of our secret weapon that is going to launch on May 1st. Imagine with one login, you could almost do everything that we discussed during this webinar, which is photos, reviews, reputation, social publishing, videos, data, and analytics. That's a cloud platform that we are launching on May 1st. More about that, but to our audience, I'd like to say, be sure that you heard it first here. But like Angel mentioned, we have a webinar exclusively on Facebook advertising, which is a very practical walkthrough, almost an extension of what Angel showed us about how to do targeting and how to do budgeting. And with that, we are ready to announce today's Google Home winner. Over to you.
All right, so today's lucky winner of the Google Home is Sue Gleason. Congratulations, Sue. Please email marketing@surefirelocal.com with your full mailing address, and we will ship that right out to you. So now we're going to move on to Q&A. We have a few questions.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
Thank you, Chelsea and Angel. This has been really great, and we are also furiously taking notes. I think this is a very good one. Go ahead with the question, Michelle.
All right, so from Vicki, she said that we had a negative comment on Facebook, and it shows up first before the more than 20 positive comments. So the negative one overshadows the positive. Facebook won't do anything to fix this. How can we overcome? We've already responded, and the customer is actually coming back to do business with us, but she did not post that, just the big blaring negative comment. So I guess she's asking how to overcome the negative.
Any comments?
The only way to do that, we found, and it's definitely happened to a couple of our retail clients, is to have comments come up from a commenter that has a better following, and that those comments have themselves more engagement. So that's kind of a twofold issue, right? Do they have a bigger following? So that's more important for the Facebook AI and algorithm. And does the comment itself, you know, have some kind of engagement on it? Because usually what happens on a negative comment, and maybe this is not the case in this case, but usually what happens in a negative comment is other people piggyback on that comment. It's shared more often because, you know, it's people like drama, unfortunately. So that comment bubbles up. That's the only way to replace it. If you have a good relationship with that customer at this point, or it's a better relationship, you could ask very nicely and humbly, you know, to have them do a follow-up. I wouldn't have them remove it, but have them at least do a follow-up. That also, you know, would change things. But the only way that's going to bubble up to the top is somebody else with, again, a bigger following, and that comment has some element more of engagement for that to bubble up next. But eventually, the algorithm will replace it.
Okay, good to know.
All right. And then we have another question from Chriselle. She wants to know what the best way to share reviews from Google, etc., on social media. Should she just screenshot or just copy and paste?
I don't know if I love either one of those, honestly.
That's why I'm not copying. It's tough. It's a tough one.
Yeah, it's would you consider this, Angel? Maybe just share the link to the Google page.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is if you want to talk about, you know, something like that, either sharing a snippet of it or sharing a link to it, I think is better than just reposting it or sharing a full photo. And there needs to be a reason why. Like, you know, as I'd like to thank this customer because it was really, really cool review, or they said something really nice and funny, or, you know, some other reason that your other customers are interested in that, rather than just taking a photo of it and doing it, especially without that specific customer's permission in your social channel. I mean, it's almost like, again, imagine yourself in a room of people, you know, you're at a party, and you say, hey, this person outside in the parking lot, they gave me a really good compliment. I took a photo of them taking the compliment, and I just want to share it with you on my phone here. It's a really awkward kind of segue, so make sure the segue makes sense.
That's a good point, because everybody after this webinar will receive a survey, and they can actually write a review for us. And of course, we will probably share it with everyone saying, hey, good news, we got 4.5 or 5. Actually, Angel said it's better to get a 4 rather than a 5, because that is a bit more. No, this is great. Are there other questions, Michelle?
Nope, those were the only questions. So like Shashi already said, thank you guys, Angel and Chelsea, for joining us today, and thank you for all of our attendees too. Please join us for our upcoming webinars, and like what Shashi said, we have one next week. You can check out that at surefirelocal.com. We have a link at the top of our homepage for all of our webinars. If you were napping during our poll, I'll mention one last time, we are offering a Google Chromecast for all who are qualified for a digital consultation with us. Please email marketing@surefirelocal.com if you're interested. And also, please take a minute to fill out the survey at the end and let us know how we did today and what topics you would like to hear about in the future. Thanks again, and have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.